大家好，欢迎收看今天的节目。在每年的6月16号，爱尔兰都会庆祝布鲁姆日。这个节日是专门为纪念《尤里西斯》这本书而设立的。所以呢，这一天的时候，人们将会通过朗读的方式来纪念这个节日。那么我也是跃跃欲试，所以今天我将会请 Robert 用非常优美的英语来教我如何朗读《尤里西斯》的第2章。Hello everyone, welcome to our program. So today Robert is going to teach me how to read.
Well, I'm going to work with you on exploring chapter 2. Yes, chapter 2 of Ulysses, sometimes called the Nestor chapter.
Nestor chapter.
Nestor. You recall from our earlier work that Ulysses is based, kind of loosely, but not that loosely, on the Odyssey by Homer. And in the second chapter of the Odyssey by Homer, the young Telemachus goes to get advice from old wise Nestor, who was one of the great Greek kings. And in Ulysses' version of that, Stephen Daedalus has left the tower. You recall at the end of chapter 1, he leaves.
Yes.
And then we meet him teaching at school, a school in Dorky. Dorky is quite close to Sandymount, where the tower is, so it's not very far at all. So it's an hour later than the first chapter, and we land very abruptly. I was mentioning to you before we came on air, as it were, that in the very original published script of Ulysses, there are no chapter breaks. So you're simply with Stephen saying goodbye to Buck Mulligan and Haynes, and then suddenly you're inside Stephen teaching a class of boys. So yeah, let's give it a go and see what we find out. Does that sound good?
Yes, great.
Okay, cool. So was it always important to remember what's gone before?
What's gone before? Stephen left his key.
Stephen left his key, and what would you remember the last thing he said as he walked off?
Usurper.
Usurper, yeah. And what do you know what a usurper is?
You explained to me before, I think. Is it about? I forgot.
Okay, good. Very good, very honest. Very important when you're working to be really simple and honest.
Okay.
It's fine, it's complex. So a usurper is somebody who's taken over something. So Stephen sees Buck Mulligan's head and he compares it to a seal's head swimming, and it's stream of consciousness. He doesn't say this. He thinks usurper. And so he's comparing Buck Mulligan and Haynes and the way they occupy both the tower and the island of Ireland to the suitors who've taken over
The house of Telemachus' father.
Odysseus. Yeah, and besieged his mother. So there's a sense that Stephen is a man in a place that's been invaded and taken over, and then that's kind of on his mind, and then suddenly he's at work, teaching this class of boys. Okay, so that's clear. Got that?
Yes.
Know where we are? We're in a school. So let's have a little read.
Good. Cochrane. You, Cochrane. What city sent for him? Tarentum, sir.
Yeah, or Tarentum, sir.
Tarentum, sir. Tarentum, sir. Very good. Well, there was a battle, sir. Very good. Where? The boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Yeah, good. So that's our kind of, I suppose that's the first
First
bit, unit,
yeah.
chunk. And you understand it's dialogue.
Yes.
And you know, an interesting thing which I don't think we've mentioned is that Joyce chose to use a European representation of dialogue rather than the normal British one. So he just uses these dashes to introduce dialogue rather than kind of inverted commas.
Inverted commas, okay.
Yeah, and so this is a dialogue between Stephen Daedalus and
his student.
And his student. Yeah, good. And I guess just maybe in terms of reading it, just occupy those roles a bit more. Just enjoy being a teacher and then being probably. And what kind of a student do we think?
Shy.
Shy, maybe. Yeah, it's possible. What else could he be?
Nervous.
Could be nervous. Yeah, could be.
Could be naughty.
Could be naughty. Yeah, could be a bit lazy. I mean, he doesn't know the answer, does he? So the question is, Where was the battle? And the boy's blank face asked the blank window. Yeah. Which is fun. It is funny. I mean, always worth remembering with them.
Sometimes, it recalled me about the memory of when I was in high school.
Yeah. And what's funny, we'll get there. It's not. We don't need to keep things secret, but Stephen doesn't know either, because later he has to look at the name in the gore-scarred book.
Okay.
So he's not a very good teacher.
Okay, great. Good to know.
And Joyce himself did a lot of teaching. I think it was probably, I don't know, maybe.
Probably similar.
Because doesn't really want to be doing it. Wants to be doing other things.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, well, let's read that little section and just see if we can.
So it's Cochrane.
Yeah.
Cochrane.
Not Cochrane.
Cochrane.
Yeah.
Cochrane.
Yeah.
Cochrane.
Yeah.
Tarentum.
Yeah, it's Latin, but I think Tarentum.
Tarentum.
Let's try that.
Tarentum. You, Cochrane, which city sent for him? Tarentum, sir. Very good. Well, there was a battle, sir. Very good. Where? The boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Yeah, good. At the end there, as you finished, stay inside what you're doing,
okay,
rather than looking at me to see what I thought.
Okay.
Because the relationship you're trying to build is with your imagination and the listener, not with me. Yeah.
You're one of the listener.
Yes, I am one of the listeners, but I'm no more important than
listeners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You, Cochrane, what city sent for him? Tarentum, sir. Very good. Well, there was a battle, sir. Very good. Where? The boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Yeah, good. And something we've spoken about before in terms of English. It's probably, just to stress, it's tricky, but it's the boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Not blank face.
Yes.
But blank face.
Yeah, because the face is the most operative part of it. The noun, often, not always, but in English most of the time, the noun or the verb take the active stress. So it's the fact that he's got a blank face, not a blank face.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Yeah, very good. We've mentioned before that there's this thing called the Uncle Charles principle, where the narration, this is narrated, isn't it? But it's sort of narrated from Stephen's point of view. So the fact that his face is blank and that the window is blank perhaps tells us something about Stephen's inner life in even a very simple sense. I'm also going to give you an acting note, if I may. When you say Tarentum, sir, you're kind of acting Tarentum, sir, which is fine and creative and makes sense. But that I can't see in James Joyce's manuscripts. So I would say the impulse to sort of
must be in my heart.
Well, no, it can be in your performance, but it should be inside the word Tarentum, not before it.
Create a word before Tarentum.
Yeah, and that becomes very important in a play script when you're dealing with rhythm and character, because it's all you can absolutely act in the way that you try and find the word Tarentum, which you're not quite sure is the right word, perhaps.
Okay.
So I think that's always a useful note, is to not act kind of outside of the text, if it's very language based, which this is novel, isn't it?
Okay, got it. So shall I go from the very beginning?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cochrane, right, Robert?
Cochrane.
Cochrane. You, Cochrane, what city sent for him? Tarentum, sir. Very good. Well, there was a battle, sir. Very good. Where? The boy's blank face asked, no, the boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Yeah. The boy's blank face asked the blank window.
The boy's blank face asked the blank window.
Yeah.
The blank window.
Good.